I want you to understand the biomechanics. I want you to understand the neurology, because I know that the more you understand the science behind what we're doing, that will strengthen your philosophy as a chiropractor. You with me on this? I'm not going to preach to you like a preacher. What I want you to do is understand it. Once we understand it, then we can sit back and say, okay, good, now I'm confident in what we're doing.
The history of Thompson technique with me, man, we're going back a lot of years. When I was in first year chiropractic college, I was lucky in that one of my good friends and saved me in the fact that he looked at me and said, John, he saw me the first week and he said, do yourself a favor. You have to learn technique outside of this school to be any good. And he said, there's a chance if you don't do anything that you can graduate here and not be a good adjuster. And that scared me to death. So I took his words very, very literally, and I started to go to seminars, any seminar I could, and I knew nothing. I was in first year. I didn't even know what a facet joint was, and people were saying, oh, palpate the facets. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. But I went to every seminar religiously, anything that came up, whether it be MPI seminars, anything that came up, I went to. And then I went to my first Thompson seminar soon after that. And I loved the technique. I loved it because even knowing nothing, the thing I liked about it instantly is it showed me a start and a stop point. And I loved that. Like I sat there and I thought, oh, fantastic. I know when to stop, because I didn't know where do I do? When do I do this adjustment? I learned some pretty cool adjustments other places, but I was like, I don't know when to really do them or when to not do them. So that's what always intrigued me by it. And because I was an avid learner, I went to a lot of seminars and I went to multiple Thompson seminars. And by the end of my first year, the Thompson Club at the time, that only had about 12 people, the president at that time, Tony Gango, came up to me and said, we want you to be the president. You're going to come in. I'm like, I'm just going in the second year. Like, I don't think that's right, because fourth years usually took over those clubs, and Tony was a fourth year himself. Anyways, he said, no. He said, you're the right man for the job, because you might be going into second year, but you've gone to more seminars than anybody else. So he goes, we want you to take over, and you could probably build this up to be something, And I said, all right. So when I took over, like I said, we had about 12 people. But funny thing happens when you're a student, especially when you're in second year, and your colleagues and your peers, when they come to that club, they want answers. And they're not afraid to ask a question. So I was bombarded because of the school that I went to, and we constantly were hammered with questions of how things worked and why things worked. People ask me all the time. They're like, why does the leg length change when you adjust? Why does this happen? Why are you checking this? How does head rotation mean a cervical problem? Why does this happen? Why? And I was hammered with these questions. So when I went back to Thompson seminars and asked individuals that were mentors of mine and teachers of mine, they unfortunately didn't know the answers to that. Now, everybody knew the technique worked and it worked well, but no one knew why. So when I went back to school and people were asking me more questions, I took it upon myself to start researching stuff, because I thought, I know that this works. I know it works, and I'm going to start researching. And I remember saying to myself one day, I was in my bedroom studying some biomechanics, and I thought to myself, good God, I will prove all of this works or it will not work, one or the other. Because even then, I was searching for the truth. Because at no point in time did I ever want to talk to people and tell them a mistruth. So I just thought to myself, one of two things is going to happen here. I either prove this all to be correct, or I will bunk the whole thing, and it's all garbage. One of the two things are going to happen.
Now we don't have the compensating movement going back and forth. When the sacrum sticks, what happens is the ilium says, well, I still need to walk. I still need to let this guy propel himself forward. So what does it do?
I already knew that Thompson worked. I mean, I saw it. And even knowing nothing, I saw changes with my piddly adjustments as a first and second year. So I knew it was going to work. I just had to figure out how. I had to figure out why it worked. So I started to do a lot of research. I started to do a lot of research in neurology. I started to do a lot of research in biomechanics, because those were true things to me, and those were things that were non-disputable. So I figured if I could explain it biomechanic-wise and neurology-wise, that it would strengthen our overall philosophy of what the technique was, but it would really show people why it worked. Lo and behold, what happened? People started asking me questions and I had answers. And the more answers I had for people, the more they asked questions, but the more they were open to the technique and the more they wanted to learn and the more they were coming up to me saying, it turned to the point of not challenging me. It turned to the point of everyone just wanted to learn more. And at this time, the club started to grow. We went from 12 people to the end in my 4th year, we had over 200 members. And I remember one of the doctors at the clinic looked at me and said, tell me the truth, like, how do you get so many people at your club every week? Because we were every Tuesday night. And I said, I just looked at him and I laughed and I said, we're just learning chiropractic, and we're learning it in a way where people can understand it. And that was always my goal. It was never my goal to be the guru or any of that kind of stuff. It was my goal to learn it properly for myself and educate my fellow classmates so that we could all help people. That was really my goal from the very beginning. And then that goal started to change. We sat back and I thought to myself, everybody who started to help me at the club at that time, these guys were starting to get really smart too. And people were coming up to me and asking me biomechanical questions throughout school, not even just pertaining to the club, because we were so confident in what we did. And we understood it. We understood the neurology, we understood the biomechanics. And the thing about that was so important to me is, I'll never forget one of my classmates asking an instructor a biomechanical question. And his answer, he looked at him and said, well, that's just the way that we always did it. And he said, well, I know, but is there a reason that we do that? And he just stared at him and said, well, I don't know. And I'll never forget that I was standing right next to him and I said, I can tell you the reason behind that. The biomechanics is this. So if the biomechanics is this, it has to go this, this, and this. And I remember everybody staring at me like, how the heck did you know that? I knew it because I researched it, because I had stumbled across stuff like that, researching stuff for Thompson. So it was like becoming it wasn't just about Thompson. You see what I mean? Like, I don't want people to think it was just about that technique. It was evolving bigger than that. It was evolving just to understand the power of what chiropractic could do, So anyways, that continued throughout the entire years at school. And when I was near the end, I had a vision of a bigger thing for Thompson technique, because the way that it was right there, what I was teaching was already more than what was out there in seminar world. It was more, and especially since we were incorporating the neurology and biomechanics. But I knew there was a lot more because I wanted to incorporate information from my mentors. I wanted to incorporate more biomechanics and plug in holes that I saw in the technique. So I had a vision of having the seminar series. And so when I graduated, it was like melancholy again, because we had 12 people again. The very first seminar was myself and another gentleman, and we had 12 people. And I remember thinking, like, you're starting over again, but that's just the way it was, and I thought, one day, this will be a lot bigger. And I can't believe I'm getting emotional about this. I really can't. But I think back to being a young man, and like, I'm 41 years old now. And I remember thinking when I was 25, 26 years old, and having the dream, you know what I mean? Like, thinking we can fill a big room, have tons of tables, and have people loving chiropractic. That was a dream of mine, you know what I mean? And to see it come to fruition is very emotional for me, not just because it was my dream that came true, but it was even bigger than that, was the team that I have. Like, I started off with one guy and that didn't end up working out. And when that didn't work out, I thought to myself, this is what I've really always wanted. I wanted to have a powerhouse team. I wanted to have a team that was so good, that was so great, that it made me better, but it made the entire experience 10 times better, And to have the team that I have now is, I couldn't have written it any better. And there's no other way to say that. Like, I couldn't have handpicked and written on a piece of paper, I want this type of person, this type of person. They turned out better than what I could have handpicked, because their standards are enormous, which is phenomenal for me, because that continuously picks up my own standards. But when I look around in the room and I look around at how my crew interacts with the attendees, and the way that the attendees' eyes light up, and you can see the light bulbs turn on in their head, that's got nothing to do with me. Like, that's got to do with these guys and their own motivations and their own passions and their own love of chiropractic. So to have that type of team has been a blessing to me, and I'm very thankful for that. And that's even bigger than the vision that I had.
But that's the type of people you have to surround yourself with. You have to surround yourself with people that have that unwavering desire to succeed. You know, because that was what picks you up more. When I got people around me like this, I have to bring my best game every time. That's what I have to bring. Because if not, I let myself down, I let you guys down, and I let all these people down here. And I can't do it.
The vision for the seminars in general is for the Thompson seminars, is to continue what we're doing right now, and that, you know, we want to continuously make us the standards in all of technique seminars. That's the vision for the seminar. But more than that, the vision for me and Minardi Education is to lead chiropractic in certainty for chiropractors. So, I mean, technique was my cornerstone, and I really believe that it was my beginning point and my first love in chiropractic, that I wanted to really understand. And I believe that if I could lay my hands on a person and adjust them, that I could see the power that chiropractic could do. And now that vision has increased to, now we need to do this mass-wide. Like, we need to have every chiropractor be certain in what we do, because unfortunately, and from my experience teaching 30 weekends a year, a lot of chiropractors of every age, people who just graduated chiropractic college, people who've been in practice 20 years, they come up to me and continuously tell me how they've kind of lost their way in chiropractic, or they don't believe in chiropractic as much as they once did, or something has changed their opinion on it, or they don't know what to think anymore. And that saddens me. You know, it saddens me because I know where that's stemming from, because I'm sure I felt that way at some point in time too. And the fact that we see all these awesome miracles happen in our office every day, you know? We see it. But the thing is when people question us, or when people question chiropractic, or when people question what we do, unfortunately, we don't have the verbiage to describe how powerful we are. So what ends up happening is people start to not believe in what they do, or they start to think to themselves, well, maybe it had nothing to do with chiropractic, that all of a sudden, you know, this quote unquote miracle happened in my office. They start to doubt themselves because they don't truly understand how powerful they are, and we all kind of lose our way a little bit. So for me, I look at it and I say, you know what? I just had enough. I just had it. So my vision is, I sit back and I say, I want Minardi Education to not only be able to teach people how to adjust and know when to adjust, know the biomechanics of the adjustment. I believe we have set a very high standard for that already. So the next movement is going to be to set a standard in certainty that is going to be the gold standard. I want everybody in chiropractic to understand exactly what we do on anything. So I want people to know how chiropractic affects the immune system. I want people to know how chiropractic allows the body to adapt. I want people to understand that when they adjust someone, they're having a direct effect on the brain. And I don't want them to just believe me because I'm saying it. I want them to understand it. So that's what Minardi Education is going to be doing in the next decade, is we are breaking down all of these courses so that individual chiropractors, regardless of someone walking in their office and says, how does a chiropractic adjustment help the immune system? How does a chiropractic adjustment help the reproductive system? How does a chiropractic adjustment just help me get well? I want individuals to be able to do that, inside out and backwards. I want them to be so confident in what they do, and that they fall in love with chiropractic again. But some people say, well, I love chiropractic, it's got nothing to do with that, I just don't know. Okay, good. Then I want your certainty to be so high that regardless of who asks you a question, you know exactly how to answer it, and not to prove yourself. Not to prove yourself. I'm not out to prove chiropractic works. We already know it works. It doesn't need proving. We just want to understand it so that we can explain it better to our colleagues, to other healthcare professionals, to our patients, to the public at large, so that they can understand and start to adopt the power of chiropractic. And I think, unfortunately, we've dropped the ball on that, and I'm tired of seeing that ball drop. So I'm taking it upon myself and my team, and we are going to bring it to the next level. That's the vision. That's the vision for the next 10 years anyway.
I think the biggest thing for me has been certainty, because to me with certainty comes a sense of power of understanding what you do. So do patients need to know every little detail? Not necessarily, but they love when they ask, I love when they ask questions, and they have so much confidence in me because I can explain to them what's going on. I can explain the power of adjustment. I can explain to them physiologically what's happening in their body. To me, it just always comes down to certainty and knowing what I know.
When I'm talking about my team and I look around at the type of team that I have right now, and I see the type of the personalities that they are, I see how much they love the attendees. You know, I love seeing that, and it energizes me. It drives me to do better every time because of my team, and we've built this powerhouse, and I've gotten so many compliments on my team itself, you know. And so it's funny because I might have been the visionary of this, or I might have been the person who wanted certain things to happen when he was young, but I couldn't do what I do without the tremendous team that I have that helps me as much as they do, you know. And they're selfless, and they're extremely loyal, and they do anything for the attendees and for me, and I'm eternally grateful for that, you know. So without them, I couldn't perform to my best. And truthfully, without my team, I don't know, I'm a pretty driven guy, but I don't know if I'd have the same drive, you know, because I look at them as my team and I think to myself, you know, I got to push harder because I want these guys to be proud of me. You know what I mean? I want to do the very best that we can do for these guys. That's part of my drive.
Our team is awesome. Our assisting team, you know, we all have our own personality types, but we all mesh together very, very well. We all individually bring a lot of value to the team because of our personality types, and we're all there for the same reason. We're there to contribute to chiropractic doctors and chiropractic students that which John is bringing to them. So to continue that contribution, okay? So we have fun at the seminars, we have fun, you know, behind at the room, you know, and we have fun while we're participating with trainees, people that are learning the adjustments, and then we have fun later on when we go out to dinner.
Dr. Minardi's teaching style, I would say, is very approachable, very down to earth. I can relate to him really well. The things that he talks about, he uses a lot of props that really make sense when we're talking about some of the biomechanics. So he'll use props to demonstrate the sacrum or the vertebral body, etc. And it just makes it very easily visually to understand what he's talking about. You can really see that he's quite passionate and quite focused and on purpose in terms of what he is delivering. So I would say he's an excellent presenter.
So the seminars today, I'm very proud of, but we do it in a very specific fashion because I'm a visual learner, and I always believed that everybody learned things primarily visually. So I specifically make sure that we have a lot of visual cues. So whether it be our PowerPoints, whether it be the hands-on, like literally our instructors taking people's hands and saying, no, do it this way, whether it be the big foam vertebrae that we use, the big foam sacrums, whether it be the manual that they have to draw in, everything is specifically geared that way because number one, I wanted everybody to understand this step by step by step. And the reason I did that is because unfortunately in the past, this technique and other techniques have been rushed through and not broken down. So people never really understood why it happened. So I had a vision early on. I said, what I want to do is have an interactive manual that people literally are following with me step by step by step. It's not that people are just taking their own random notes. We have them following a specific step by step, and there's certain parts they are writing stuff in on purpose, and then there's certain parts that are just written there for them. I do that to keep them engaged, and then I solidify. So I sit back and I say, okay, watch this big foam vertebrae. And if I can show the person, here's the rotation and then here's the correction, the people pick that up. They need that visual. I needed that visual. So I wanted to teach the way I learned. So the more I learned visually, I thought I need to incorporate more visual stimulus in my teaching in order for people to learn this properly.
I see growth. It's phenomenal to see. it's great to see a growth from Seminar 1 to Seminar 2 to Seminar 3, from day 1 of Seminar 1 to day 2 of Seminar 1. Students are feeling a lot more confident about themselves. Their speed and accuracy and understanding of what they're doing is increasing, and you can just see it by the questions they're asking and their actions. Docs are finding a lot more of what they do to make sense. The explanations neurologically and biomechanically about what we do integrates simply to their practices, and they come back from Seminar 1 to Seminar 2 with simple examples of, I've been treating this patient for quite some time, and all of a sudden I changed this, and they're doing great, and this is fantastic. So it's fantastic to see such great results in such a short period of time, month to month, and it's just a pleasure to see.
Well, I traveled over from Germany, especially to see John Minardi, and the thing is that chiropractic in Germany is not well established. So, and I could actually learn Thompson technique in Hamburg, but I wanted to have sort of the best. So that's why I came over. Last time I was here, during the seminar, some patients popped up in my mind. I said, "Oh, it's him, or it's her," and it's going on and on. So so I had to come then back into the office and had them recheck. So all of a sudden I really found out about something different. I wasn't even looking before because I didn't have the insight of the whole biomechanic before. So that is a good help.
The very first thing we talked about in Module 1 is we always start talking about neurology, right? Why is neurology so important? Because I need you to understand the basic proprioceptive responses of what's happening with leg lengths so that you can figure out not only when someone's subluxated what's going on with their leg lengths, but how when you correct it, it affects leg lengths, because as you know, that's our day-to-day neurological check.
Really just the reinforcing of the information. The way that Dr. Minardi teaches, it helps you not only to learn the material, but to kind of cement it into your brain, because you're doing a little bit of the listening and the learning, and then you do a lot of the practical. Hands-on is really the best. I'm a visual learner. I'm a hands-on type of learner. So that really helps me to kind of get the material to solidify in for me.
The inclusion of my textbook with the seminar series, that was one of my biggest accomplishments as far as technique was concerned, was writing that book, because if you ever took a look at the book and open it up, we specifically designed the book to have the play-by-play protocol that was all explained using biomechanics and neurology, but in every page you'll see a picture of the setup on a spine, and then you'll also see a picture of the setup on a person. So with the textbook, it reinforced everything that myself and my assistant instructors are constantly incorporating into their everyday learning experience at the seminars. So then when they go home, they have the textbook to constantly remind them of that.
It's great. I really love it. I was honored that Dr. John asked me to be part of his team. It's so much fun each year seeing you guys and seeing the new students and the new practitioners that want to practice Thompson. I find it really exciting that, especially for the students who, they don't really get this type of adjusting in school, they start to understand really how the body works and how the body functions mechanically, neurologically, and it's almost like a light bulb goes on in their head, like, oh yeah, that's why we're doing this. Yeah, now that makes sense, and they can actually put it all together and understand then why we as doctors out in practice, we see changes in the patients that come see us and for the positive.
Yeah, there was one, I went up to Dr. John and I had asked him about a clinical scenario that he had just taught, and he had given me a little bit of direction in terms of what I can apply to this particular patient that I had that wasn't clearing, and went back, saw him that week, and we have been doing that protocol that Dr. John had recommended, and it's been great.
The subluxation pattern is still the same one that I've taught you every other time. It's gone posterior with rotation away from the nodule, because remember, you found a nodule. So the biomechanics are still the same. There's just an additional problem. Besides it going posterior, spinous deviation away, it's also tipping down as well. So you have to correct the original problem first, then tip this back into its neutral position.
The type of person that wants to go to our seminar series is any chiropractor that is looking to improve their skills, their knowledge, their certainty in themselves as a chiropractor, but especially to the people in their practices. You know, whether it be the student who's in first, second, third, fourth year, wherever they are, or the practicing chiropractor that's been there for a year, 2 years, or 20 years. We have all walks of life in our seminar series, and they all take tremendous amounts of weight because we all have one common thing in practice. Number one is we are all trying to do the very best we can for our patients to help them and help their individual lives. So if you look around at our seminars, you'll see the older individuals that have 35, 40 years experience. You'll see students that are second and third year in chiropractic college, you know, just learning how to adjust for the first time. And we love that mix completely because we have a great mix of 50% students, 50% doctors, and I do that on purpose, because they're going to have different types of questions and they learn from one another. The students will ask me more technical questions and biomechanical questions and research questions, whereas the doctors are going to bring in a lot of clinical questions. I have this type of patients in my office. What do you see with this type of patients? So they intermix both worlds. A lot of us doctors, you know, we don't do a whole lot of research anymore. So the thing is, we don't really think to ask biomechanical or neurological questions like a student does right now, because that's where their mind frame is at, and vice versa. A student's not thinking about their patient because they have no patients at this point in time. So to get that mixture between the two is a great thing for both worlds. And thankfully, myself and my team are constantly able to answer those questions and give different perspectives. And that's why we have an even mix of my instructors that are half female and half male, because and some are a little older, some are a little younger. We want that mix so that we can connect with everyone. And all of my instructors are constantly rotating around the room. In our seminar series, we have full drop tables in there. It's 100% hands-on, and all of my instructors are rotating around the room, so you have interplay with every single one. So you learn not just from me, you learn from every instructor in that room.
I think the biggest thing in helping chiropractic move forward is again, having that certainty behind the power of the adjustment, and understanding why an adjustment makes a neurological change, not just from a pain perspective, but why we see kids with visceral complaints, let's say, clear up, not because we treated those complaints, but saying, hey, this is more than just neck pain, back pain, headache. There's a bigger global picture here on the effect of the body.
I see how John brings his personality on stage when he's teaching his students, the crowd. You know, he's very serious and very direct when you have to be, because you're teaching important things. But at the same time, he'll tell some stories, you know, some personal stories, you know, crack some jokes, get the audience laughing. So people really connect with him just the same way that I connected with him, you know, when we hang out at dinners and so forth. But what he offers is superior leadership, not just while he's teaching, but for the chiropractic profession on a whole. Because he's teaching a whole lineup of seminars that gets chiropractors to really understand what they're doing from a science level, from an adjusting level, but more importantly, how they can relate that to helping their patients get the best outcomes for their health and for their life.
You know, I've been teaching this seminar 15 years, and even though our manual is very similar from 15 years ago to now, what we've incorporated into the seminar changes constantly. Because of all my Minardi education stuff and all the other courses I do with neurology, I'm constantly reading practical neurological stuff that we can incorporate day to day. So I'm always incorporating that into my technique seminars too, because, you know, I'm a firm believer that a chiropractor has to be good at all three pillars of chiropractic. They have to know the science, they have to know the philosophy, and they have to know the technique. So I'm constantly filling my brain with those three pillars. And so every time I read a new research article, every time I learn new biomechanics, I incorporate it into my seminars. So if you took my seminar 15 years ago, it's going to be a lot different than my seminar now, even though the manual is not much different. The manual is not much different because the components of Thompson have not changed, but our understanding of it has. Our understanding of it has through the neurology, through new research. Like, you know, today I'm talking about studies in 2014 that just came out. You know, I couldn't talk about those studies 15 years ago, obviously. So the big thing is things are constantly changing. And But what I really do want to emphasize is that the base is always consistent throughout the years. Every single individual learned the same base. But as we learn more, we incorporate it into our technique seminars, so there's a constant evolution, and there's also evolution in the questions that are asked. So as the questions that are asked evolve, as we learn more evolves, our technique seminars evolve in that positive way. This contraction in postural muscles because of the vestibulospinal tract is why we get a functional short leg in extension.
Yeah, you can tell he's very passionate. He motivates you. He keeps your attention. He's very vocal. He uses hand gestures. He's very vibrant when he's up at the front. He is very, very, very good. And he always has little stories and explanations and explains in words, but then shows you as well. I'm a very visual person. So I find having his little foam spinuses, vertebras, and the sacrums, it's very helpful to visualize what's happening in the body. So I find that very helpful. He does, the word explanation, the visual explanation, and then teaches you how to do it as well. So it's really well-rounded.
Holding up that drop piece. I'm going to do a bilateral contact here, stabilize, and we're going to literally think to ourselves, I want a C motion, a C motion. So we're here, and hold the adjustment. Hold the adjustment. What drives me so much, I'm a pretty driven guy anyway, but the thing is I look around and I'm fortunate enough to be on the road about 30 times a year, and I talk to all kinds of different chiropractors from young to older, all walks of life. And what drives me more than anything is I want these chiropractors to be certain in what we do. And I've seen too many times where a young chiropractic student will come up to me and say, I'm considering quitting chiropractic. Or I'll have a chiropractor who's been in practice 20 years, and they'll say, I don't even believe in what we do anymore. I'm thinking I'm changing professions. It breaks my heart. It really, really does, because chiropractic saved my life. So if my chiropractor would have thought the same thing, what would have happened to me? What would have happened to all the patients in each of these individuals' offices? I don't want to see chiropractors struggle. I don't want to see chiropractors think maybe what we're doing isn't accurate, because I'm hearing so many confusing things. I can't. That breaks my heart, because I don't want that to happen. So I feel it's my job as a chiropractor and as an educator to constantly bring this information to people in a way that they can understand it. To me, it's not enough. It's not enough of what I do in my practice. Yes, I affect my practice members, but to me, it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. You have to be able to do more for your own profession. And if the profession has given so much to you, give back to the profession, make us all stronger as one individual unit. And I cannot as a person continue to see that. So I continue to move forward, and I won't rest. I will not rest until every single chiropractor I come in contact with is certain in what we do, knows how to do it, and understands the basic philosophy of chiropractic has never changed. We just have more information that backs it up now. Please never forget this. Understand neurology. Every single one of us has the same tolerance for nociception, which is actually high, because nociception has what's called a high level of activation, which means that it takes a lot to stimulate a nociceptor. Proprioceptors are the opposite. They have a low level of activation, which means anything stimulates a proprioceptor. Any change stimulates a proprioceptor right away. That's why they're the fastest nerve fibers in the body. But nociception that could lead to pain, these guys have to have a criteria met before that happens. And the criteria is there actual tissue damage or the potential for tissue damage to occur? My vision for the future of the technique and chiropractic in general, 20 years from now, I want to have this seminar series to be the standard for Thompson worldwide. I want to have this so that every single chiropractic college on the planet, if they're teaching Thompson, they're teaching it in this capacity. Not that I'm trying to say I'm something big, but I want to have that standard process right across the board, that everybody learns it the same way, so that they can influence their patients consistently all the way through. I want to have the worldwide unification of this, and we're already working on that, and we're already putting steps into motion where individuals are already joining up that have never joined before. So that's in the process, you know. The big thing for the seminars that I see is I see us going more worldwide with the seminars as well. I see myself and my team traveling to places like Australia or Europe or whatever, and doing more intensive seminars and having instructors out there, and having a bigger worldwide base. It all takes time, but it has to start somewhere, and you know, I'm a pretty young guy so far, so we'll keep pushing. But the other big vision for me in Minardi Education is to continuously push the certainty in chiropractic. You know, unfortunately, some people will call me a science guy or a technique guy or something like that, but I keep saying the same thing. I'm a chiropractor. I have to know each one of those three pillars, and if you're able to teach, and if you love to teach, I believe it's your calling to teach other people so that they can influence their world a lot more powerfully. Think of, if you're more certain, what you can do with your practice members, what they can do when they go back and talk to their families, what they can do when they go back to talk to their co-workers. You know, that's why I say this is so much bigger now, because I used to just do this selfishly, thinking I'll be better at this, I'll do good at this, I'll be the leader in this. I was very selfish. But now that's completely changed. I look at all of it now and I think to myself, like, I'm a small piece of the puzzle that can be part of the cause of a huge catalyst effect. I see the way that my assistant instructors are, and I know that how they influence other people. So I think to myself, you know, the ripple effect of the entire thing is you can have a worldwide ripple effect just from what you do, their passion. And I used to never believe in that stuff. I used to sit back and go, come on, there's going to be a limit to how much influence you have. But I don't believe that anymore. I really believe that if you speak the truth and back it up in a way that people can understand it and relay that information to someone else, then your effects on the world are limitless. You know, I really believe that, and I think that is what continues to drive me, and that's what I see the future as. And like I said before, I will not rest until that happens. I will not rest until I get the truth out there, and every chiropractor hears it.
If you're hemming and hawing and not sure, I think just coming, you know, maybe take a short couple-hour seminar from Dr. John Minardi and find out what he's like. His passion and his enthusiasm are infectious. When you're sitting there and listening to the way that he lectures, he makes it, you know, basically simple. He makes it understandable, and it's easily applicable to the, you know, as a practicing chiropractor, it's easily applicable to my patients. So that really is, you know, if you're thinking that you would like to do it, you know, get off that, you know, hemming and hawing block and just go right to it and get there. Because you'll be pleasantly surprised and very happy that you did.
You know, the seminar series has been an enormous blessing for me in many capacities. But I look at my life in chiropractic so far, and I look at what's happened with the seminar series, and I look at what's happened with the information that I've learned and have been able to share with other people. And I feel so blessed with how it's come back tenfold to me in appreciation for chiropractic, in just humility. You know, like it keeps me humble because I see the bigger picture. You know, I was in Washington, D.C., and we were at a wellness summit, and I presented on the power of chiropractic to a group of chiropractors, non-chiropractors, a bunch of different health professionals. And I'll never forget after that, this young teenager is probably 16 years old. She came up to me with her mother, who is a chiropractor, and her dad was a chiropractor as well, and said, I would like to talk to you. And I said, please. And she said, I never wanted to be a chiropractor, this is her talking, because both my parents are chiropractors, so as a teenager, you don't really want to do what your parents end up doing. And I said, okay. And she said, but after I heard your talk tonight, I want to be a chiropractor now. And that affects me because this is a 16-year-old girl. You know what I mean? And who knows what lives she's going to change just from hearing a talk, just from hearing me being certain in what I do. One of my assistant instructors, Dr. Evelyn Bruno, her daughters, I should say, have come to my seminars since her youngest daughter was 13 years old. And her middle daughter, when she came, I believe she was 17 or 16 or 17 years old. And her middle daughter, same thing, both of her parents are chiropractors, but wasn't even considering chiropractic. Now, don't get me wrong, I think the biggest influence in all of these young people's lives are their parents as chiropractors, so they see them day in and day out. But when they came to our seminar, her middle daughter looked at her mom and said, I want to go to chiropractic college now. And if I had even the smallest piece in that, then I'm terribly proud of it, and it humbles me because I see how great her mom is as a chiropractor, and I see how great of a person her mom is because she's one of my assistant instructors and one of the finest instructors I have. And I know that her daughter will do the exact same thing because not only is she amped about chiropractic, but she's already a beautiful person and soul. So it's humbled me to see things like this, and I'm humbled to see how dedicated and loyal my team is to me. I'm humbled to see the attendees and how grateful they are to be there. I used to look at all of this stuff and look at it like, if I can teach someone some tools, they could help some patients, and that's all I looked at it as. And now I really see that we have the opportunity to change people's lives and their perspectives. So that's what I take away from all this.
Certain people are leaders. I feel that John is a leader. I feel that the people that he surrounds himself with are leaders as well. I feel that the profession in these people's hands, in our hands as a group that can assist with the public's understanding and doctors' understanding of what we do. The profession is in good hands if we can move forward like this. I do feel that John and the people that he associates himself with, including us, like I said, biomechanically and neurologically, the explanations that we can provide can give the public a sense of understanding of what we do, and can create cohesion in our profession. And I think that's the biggest ripple effect that we have. I do feel as a chiropractor that there isn't that cohesion in our profession, and I feel that this is a small step moving forward, but it can turn into quite a big step. But there are quite a few challenges ahead, and I'm looking forward to trying to help John in that quest.
The more people that understand this information, the more solid and confident the chiropractors will be and the profession will be on a whole. So everyone needs to really get this. Whether you want to apply it or not is a different story, but you need to own the basic science and how, especially neurology, especially how it's applicable to your patient adjustments. Whatever adjustment technique you're using, the neurology is going to be the same, right? But more importantly, how it creates the outcome that you want from that patient.
I think that you always have to remember that there is greatness inside you. Greatness. Whether it be coming to my seminar, another seminar, going to a philosophy seminar, going to anything, you have power inside of you that is greater than you've ever believed. What you have to do is almost get out of your own way and let that power out. Because I guarantee you, without any hesitation at all, if you just step out of your own way, you will be bigger and greater than you ever imagined. And that has nothing to do with a seminar. It has nothing to do, you have chosen to be a chiropractor, and I'm telling you with absolute certainty that you will change people's lives. You will literally change and save people's lives in your office every day in your clinic, every day. Think how powerful that is, because quite frankly, you and the power that you possess in your hands, when you lay them on another patient, when you, with your words and giving them hope, can change their life. Just like it changed my life, just like it changes millions of people's lives every single year. You are going to be part of that fabulous profession. Never, ever, ever forget how powerful you are as a chiropractor, because it's all inside you. And I hope and pray to meet you all at different seminars. And if you ever see me, please come up, and I'd love to have a conversation.